Hi, welcome back to Fish the Mark. Really appreciate you coming in and joining the channel. If you like what we're doing, subscribe to the channel, please. Hit the like button. If you've got some ideas on things we could be doing better or other lakes that you would like for us to go fish, please put those in the comment section. Always looking to see what folks are interested in having us go do and go take a look at. Today's episode is on Banner Marsh in the Peoria, Illinois area, and more specifically, the main access, which is Johnson Lake. Went fishing there towards the end of March. I did 2 4-hour days there. I couldn't work things out schedule-wise to spend an entire 8-hour day there. So I spent 4 hours one day, and then I had a couple days later, I went back and finished another 4 days. So this is actually going to be reviewing what I did over those 2 days, total about 8 hours fishing, but over 2 different days trip that I took there. Ended up being pretty good fishing. It was early in the year. The water temperature was cold, 46 degrees. The wind was blowing really hard both days. So I was trying to find areas to get out of the wind that still had fish. But ended up with really learning some new things about Banner Marsh, and I'd like to share those with everybody today. So let's jump in and start taking a look at some of the information from Banner Marsh here. As I mentioned, it's just outside of Peoria. So Peoria is up here. You got Bartonville, Creve Coeur, Peak, and if you go across the Pekin Bridge or come down from Peoria on 24 runs right in front of Banner Marsh as it circles around. And this is the Banner Marsh fish area right here, or state fish and wildlife area right there. There's really 3 main access points. There's East Access, Main, and Bell's Landing. This trip, or both of these trips, this video is about the main access, which is the closest one to the road. It's only 100 yards from the road to the ramp. But right now the road needs a little work. There's a lot of mud there. I'm sure every year that happens to them, and every year they come through and smooth it out and put some new rock down, but they hadn't done it yet as of last week when I was there. It's a little bit closer view of Johnson Lake. And so, you come in off of 24 right here. The boat ramp is right there. It's a nice boat ramp. It's a good cement ramp. The parking lot's all gravel, but the ramp is cement. There's a dock there. There's actually almost like a beachy area that you can also beach your boat on if you want. It's not really a beach, but it's shallow water that has grass that you can kind of pull up on, leave your boat there as well. When you first put in, to the north is this big long canal. It's nice deep water, variety of different structure on each side, and then there's this kind of open bay lake right here. And then the lake, when you get to the end of this canal, it tees to the left, and you got kind of more of a man-made canal that way. You come back this way, it's more of open water, shallow open water with some trees, and later in the summer it's got a lot of grass and weeds and stuff in it. And then you come back down through the south on this wing here, and this is another one of these man-made canals with some deep water, different structure along the shoreline, and then different spots around it. Whether it's to the east here, you have shallow marsh area, or even these little small pockets like that one, and this one where it's to the west, and you have some of those shallow pockets. Banner Marsh, when I do these, I always do a quick look on iFish Illinois to see what's going on. It's a pretty good lake, Johnson Lake. It's got very good bass according to the DNR. It's got very good muskie in it. It's got a decent population of walleye in it as well. Decent population of crappie, and then the bluegill is not so great. But the one thing about this lake, it's got a slot limit. So between 12 and 18 inches are protected, and so you can't keep anything between 12 and 18 inches. Over 18 and below 12 you can keep, and it's a free fish limit on those on those sizes. It's also a 25 horsepower limit lake. So even though it's a pretty decent sized lake, it's 25 horsepower limit. So you need to have that, or just use your electronics if you're over 25. Electronic trolling motor if you're over 25 horse. Specifically for the day that I went fishing, or the 2 days I went fishing, like I said, both days were really windy and cold and blustery, and but the fish, the active fish, were still moving up. Initially, the first day, I really thought I was going to be catching them deeper, that they hadn't moved up yet, and so there's a couple of spots in through here. There's some spots in through here, and even different ones in throughout this entire canal, and a couple spots through here and up here where I've caught them out of deep water, either early spring, either with crankbaits or with jigs on deep water. And so the first day, I probably spent a couple hours trying to catch fish with deep water crankbaits and jigs and those kind of things, and got nothing. I mean, nothing, no bites, nothing. And so I totally made an about face. I had had some luck the previous week down at Spring Lake, which is the video before this one that I released, fishing the shallow water, fishing trees in the shallow water, especially horizontal trees. So, well, let's give that a try here as well. So I headed back into here, and this area here is the first area that I really spent much time in. And when you take a look at it from the satellite view, now this is later, obviously taken later in the year, because there's a lot of weeds there. There's virtually no weeds when I was there. This is pretty much open water, other than you can see the tremendous amount of down timber that's everywhere, right? There's a ton of horizontal timber. 15 years ago when I used to fish this lake, all this timber was vertical. It's all fallen down, so now there's a bunch of stumps that are just below the water surface. And then you got all these horizontal laydowns to go fish. And honestly, that's where I caught all of the fish from both days, was along these horizontal laydowns, either in this location here or going to this location back here and catching them there as well. And that's what this looks like. So it's got this kind of man-made canal going through, and it's got these shallow areas with a bunch of laydown trees that you can go fish. Ends up being very similar to the first area I showed. The one caution that I would make on this one, and I debated on including it in the video or not, but coming in here, it looks like it's open water, and then it's a man-made canal, and that you can come into here without any problems. There are a variety, kind of randomly placed tree stumps in through here. Actually, not tree stumps, but trees. And again, they're old enough, and old enough trees, the lake's old enough that they have fallen off just below the water surface. And so you've got these trees that come up to just 2 or 3 inches below the surface. And so when you go through here, you'll hit them with your motor. And so you don't want to go through here fast. And after I hit one, and I knew I was going to hit one eventually going through there, but I was idling through, I hit one. So I shut it down and then used the trolling motor the rest of the way. And even using the trolling motor, there's a big wind pushing me, and I ended up hitting a stump and almost knocked myself out of the boat, but I did knock myself down, and I landed on top of the console in the boat. So you want to be really careful when you're entering this place in particular. There's just a bunch of trees there that you can hit with your boat and either do damage to your boat or worse, do damage to you. So you want to be careful of that. But at the end of the day, for both of these two 4-hour trips that I taught, it was the same thing. It was fishing this picture is just better, so I'm showing it, fishing these down trees, these horizontal trees, and I caught them on either a judder jig, which I've used before and I'll talk about here in a little bit, or I caught them on a jig and put a jig up there in the trees. The water was always 2 to 3 feet deep. There's a couple holes like this hole here, the water gets to 6 feet deep, but most of this is 1 to 3 feet of water. And you're bringing it, bringing the lure over the tree, maybe hitting the tree when I bring it up to it, and then dropping it on the backside. And so I would kill it, retrieve, let it drop down on the once I crawled over the top of the tree. And a lot of times when I started reeling it back up, that's when the fish would hit it, is after I dropped it over the side of that tree. And so over the 8 hours, I ended up catching 7 decent fish. And so I think we'll go take a look at those 7 fish. So you can see I had a pretty good couple days there. I caught all but one of the fish on this white Judder Jig. I was using a 3/8 ounce Judder Jig. Let me move this out of the way, with a boot trailer. I like the boot trailers. A lot of guys use more of a swim jig kind of, or swim bait kind of trailer, as opposed to the boot trailer, but I like the boot tail trailers. But I caught them all but one on that, and then I caught one on my black jig with the Zoom Super Chunk Junior, which in water under 60 degrees, I like that Super Chunk Junior because it doesn't have a lot of action. And once it gets over 60 degrees, then I go to something like a Strike King Baby Rage Claw on that, which has a lot more action to it. But I think in that cooler water, they want a lure that drops down and doesn't make a lot of action. So those were the lures that I used. I'll put links in for both of those in the comments. I'll put the links in for the Banner Marsh site. And appreciate you coming in and taking a look. Let me know what else you'd like to know about Banner, and what other lakes in Illinois you'd like for me to make videos of, and if there's any tips that you have for fishing Banner. I appreciate it, and have a great day.